Hello all and welcome to episode 59 of the Green Arrow, an FPL podcast by Fantasy Football Hub as we head towards blank Gameweek 33 as Manchester Blue and North London Whites battle it out for the Carabao Cup final. Oh no, I can't say that anymore, can I? Because it's all been sorted now, haven't it? They were the old the Pro Evolution names, weren't they? Which they were bantering around this week around the Super League. But anyway, less said about that, the better. My name is Fergie, and a big welcome to my co-host Adam Hopcroft. Adam, what colour is your arrow looking like after double game week 32?
I think it's another green arrow, but you'll probably be able to tell me because you've copied my team, didn't you? So I'll let you tell me if I'm pretty sure I've got about a 6 or 7k green arrow, but as I'm now in the top 100k, the arrows are getting smaller, so it's not 10k or 20 or 30k rises. It's just a measly 7k rise this week.
So I think we both scored 72. Obviously, the bonus points and stuff haven't been completely confirmed yet. But I took a -4. So you scored 72. And I believe you've got a green up to roughly 57,000. I had 72 -4. So I have got the smallest of greens from roughly 44,000 up to 43. But the gap is closing, Adam. I'm only about... And I'm not sure exactly how many. I think it's about 13 points difference, whereas a good 50 or 60 a few weeks back. So, yeah.
I was hoping that I watched the end of the Chelsea-Brighton game. There were a couple of moments where Brighton...
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that Welbeck shot that hit the post, the Lallana shot, I was thinking, this is going to claw me back some more points. But no, it wasn't to be, unfortunately.
I know all that kind of Cody versus Rudiger, and they ended up exactly matching each other. Unbelievable. So looking at your team, Adam, do you want to briefly run us through your team's performance?
Yeah, let's go through it. So my goalkeeper, he didn't turn up, did he? So
neither.
I've not had much luck with goalkeepers this season. I've dodged Martinez for the majority of the season. I obviously had the COVID situation with Meslier and Johnson on my bench boost. And then I'll have two playing keepers, and they both get rotated. I'm hoping it's rotated rather than dropped completely. And
I think so.
I'm not. Yeah, I think the patterns of I think it makes sense. And also we've seen Leno have a rest this week, so it's not been a great week for goalkeepers. So hopefully Mendy will be back between sticks. So I had Mendy for a 0-pointer. Trent, Cody, and Shaw all did exceptionally well. I think Shaw was unlucky. I mean, I don't know if you watched that game, but he was very unlucky not to return. And I think keeping him, I'm quite glad I've got him actually.
He's one of those players who's not scoring many points at the moment, but he's definitely one, like, kind of eye test wise, you should hold on to, because he just looks so dangerous every single game, doesn't he?
Well, I think for me, in my backline, Shaw and Trent are there for the rest of the season. Looking at the fixtures, they can do damage in any game. I like that Shaw's on corners as well.
Yeah,
it seems he's taking pretty much every corner, so I think that's good. And then I had Salah for his 1-pointer, which was frustrating. And then I had Lingard, Bruno, Jota, and Son in midfield, and then Iheanacho and Kane captain. So. Yeah, a nice 72. I think there were a few bits of frustration. Jota could have done better.
Yeah.
Salah came on and missed one, but I think when he was sub, you were never expecting too much. I thought Bruno was a bit unlucky actually. I think he got into some decent positions. So yeah, and even at the end,
assisted the assister at the end.
He's assisted the assister, but it is what it is. I think he's doing quite well in the Hub's expected points over the last 6 weeks. So I think he's one you just hold personally. I don't think he'll be going anywhere, just not the next couple of game weeks anyway. So yeah, overall, fairly happy. And your team is the same as mine, except you decided to play Rudiger.
I went for Rudiger, and I got asked on Twitter on Friday, why are you going for Rudiger over Cody? Everything points to Cody, and I simply, whether you believe in this or not, I think that Wolves had a higher percentage odds in terms of expected clean sheets and things. but I tend to look at things in these things kind of black and white a little bit in terms of Chelsea are a better defence than Wolves. I don't think it matters at times who plays, and as it worked out, it was all, as I say, it was all matched up anyway. But yeah, we had the exact same team. Just quickly, we did have a question in the chat then off Stefan L. Who to bring in for Mendy? So I suppose that's the first thing, because loads of us wildcarded in 31 and went for the Mendy Forster double up. Are you concerned at all, Adam, with Mendy, or do you think it was a bit of a blip?
For me, logic states he's still number one because he wasn't dropped, and he played the European games, which you would think were the most important matches for Chelsea. Yeah. And what he did earlier in the season, I think after an FA Cup game, he played Kepa in the league as well. So there is that repeated behaviour. I've read on some Chelsea forums that they're looking at selling Kepa, and one of the things that Tuchel had to do was to try and increase his value and make him more marketable. So there could be something in that. So I still think Mendy is number one, and I expect him to start versus West Ham. I think Forster, because a lot of people who've got Mendy have got Forster as well. Forster McCarthy, I think, is more difficult to call. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure on that one. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think if you're looking at replacing him, the one that I would go for, or the two that's the two that stand out for this week, definitely Sanchez. I think Brighton's next four, I think they could. The way they're defended, I mean, against Chelsea, they didn't really give them much at all, did they? And if you look at all the expected points charts again on the hub site, Sanchez and Dunk are doing really, really well at the moment. So I'd say Sanchez. I think Meslier maybe after this game week. I think he's doing quite well, particularly for saves and bonus at the moment. And then if you want to play the double game weeks, whilst Villa are off form, I think even defensively, Martinez has got arguably potentially got 5 games. He's got 7 games left, hasn't he? Whereas a lot of teams have got 5 or 6. So I think they're the ones that I would look at. But I just don't, at the moment, I don't think we've got. It'd be interesting in the press conference if they actually talk about players who are injured rather than the ESL or that wasn't to be.
I personally think with Mendy, he's played him in the FA Cup all the way through. I just think he wanted to keep him pleased. He did well in the FA Cup. Didn't have a lot to do actually against City. He only made a couple of saves, and I just think he just wanted to give him another game, a decent fixture against Brighton, and I think that'll be it now. I think Mendy will be back in for West Ham as his warm-up game for the Champions League matchup, which they'll have in the week. And I also think that if you have got a transfer to burn this week, you're maybe in a bit of a luxury spot with it being a blank game week, and the potential rumours that Jota may be missing as well. The rumours are just for those who haven't heard them that he missed training today as part of the team that's going to take on Newcastle on Saturday. So that could potentially be an interesting one there. We'll touch on that more in a minute, and maybe look at a couple of replacements if we do get any any more news on that tomorrow in the presses. But welcome everyone. As we are live, please feel free to join the chat in at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics, talk the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions. Good evening all. Thank you so much for joining us live this evening. Another fantastic packed lobby. Good evening, Stefan Al, who's received his mug. Fantastic. Pleased you had that, Stefan. Daniel Robert, who scored 103 this week with 9 on a bench boost. What a score, Daniel. Well played. Absolutely superb. Jason Hubbard, first time joining live. Welcome, Jason. Great to have you in with us. Gavinho, Kristen, Sanjay, Craig, Guy Parfit, Beres. I think Beres is from Washington, so joining us from the US of A. Maro Zaraski, who's having another fantastic season, his third one on the bounce. Chris Irvine, Daniel Robert, Mr. Brown. Good evening, everybody. Great to have you in with us.
As you mentioned a few people from the chat, I've just seen, I think Sanjay Patel's put, let's see what the template does regarding Mendy, and Guy, quick as a flash. Well, let's see what Adam does. So I've mentioned my three, so there you go, Mr. Template.
Mr. Template himself, Adam Hopcroft, indeed. Adam makes the template, see? The template molds around Adam, not the other way around. For any new watchers and listeners, if you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Set the alerts so you don't miss our live streams every week right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button, everyone, if you enjoy our content. So this evening, following a couple of strategic pods in the last two, which we really enjoyed, we will settle in this evening and focus back on the fixtures and our player picks for the coming game weeks. We will reveal our game week 33 teams and plans. I think I'm planning on, maybe being a bit more aggressive than Adam, but we can have a chat about that. Our template team could split again this week, but we'll have a chat about that after. We will look at the best captaincy options. Quite a wide, I'll say a wide open one. There's a couple of very good options, I think, this week, and look to give away another prize later on. So firstly, we've got to mention it, Adam.
Yes.
The Super League, and what a week! Like I was doing a live stream on Sunday evening, and so I didn't hear the actual confirmed news until about 11:30 at night on Sunday night, and I was absolutely just bemused. Obviously, heard the rumours all day, but when it was actually confirmed, my goodness, it absolutely knocked me for six, and I couldn't sleep on Sunday. I struggled to get to sleep, just thinking of the kind of implications of absolutely everything. Is the sport we love going to hell in a handcart? And obviously over the next couple of days, it's hopefully all sorted itself out. But what are your kind of thoughts on it? Not to dwell on it, obviously, but.
Yeah, so I think I went through similar emotions. I think the first emotion when it was in the Man United Burnley game where it first came to light, and then they said there were announcements going to be later that evening. And I think I went to bed before all the tweets started coming out, so I woke up to it. So at least I got a good night's sleep. But my first stage was like the outrage, and I think I suppose pretty much you could repeat what Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher said, and I think it just taking away that competition, and I think it was very selfish, particularly for if you look at the debts that a lot of the clubs have got. So you look at Real Madrid, Juventus, if you could go through all of them, and the only one of the teams that weren't in really, I suppose really struggling financially with Chelsea and City. They were, I think, about £200 million debt each. Whereas you look at Real Madrid, it's close to £1 billion. So it's really serving themselves. I think they've looked at the success of the Premier League, the money in it, and thinking, well, actually, can we combine it? Can we? Have a bit of that. So I think there was a lot of frustrations and the thoughts that is the Premier League going to become less competitive? And all of that. But I think from Monday onwards, I just thought the TV, the some of the tweets, it just got absolute comedy gold. I must admit, I'm finding it, and there were just stuff like, so there's a couple that really like the one on, I think, Monday morning, I saw somebody put like Tottenham joining the Super League is like Banana Man being asked to join the Avengers. I mean, and then when it all fell to pieces, you saw the grovelling statements. I think my favourite tweet of the week was the European Super League is like a lad's night out before they've asked their missus if it's all right. And that was exactly what happened. They all just dropped out, and it was just absolute, it's just chaos. And I can't believe they folded like a pack of cards as well.
I can't believe, and this, I've maybe got a bit more of like a cynical view on this, and it won't go down well, but I think you can't like, once owners make a decision on something, they've understood all the risks. They were expecting the backlash, and I think that these business owners, they're very clever people, right? Incredibly clever people. They have to be, right, to kind of be where they are.
Yeah, of course they do.
They are strategists, and they are masters of making money, but they're also master manipulators as well, right? And the biggest trick I think you can pull is when you want people to buy into something they won't like. A couple of things, and one of them is to make them feel like it's their idea, or the second thing is to make them think that they have won. And do you know what I personally think? I personally think that this is what they've done. And if you look at UEFA, right? So their reputation a week ago, you know, if we asked each other last week, what do you think of UEFA? We would be calling them, you know, horrible, corrupt, greedy, don't know what they're doing, la 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 la, right? But if you think of the timing of when it happened as well, the day before the Champions League revamp, the actual revised proposal, UEFA's reputation this week now has had a massive boost ahead of their proposals, which actually, if you look at them, are pretty shitty, by the way. They're not good. But the fans now are in really good spirits. UEFA have actually come out of this with people, rightly or wrongly, feeling a bit sorry for them as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if UEFA actually concocted this whole thing in order to get their Champions League proposal through unchallenged, almost making us feel sorry for them, grateful for having them, and making the fans think like they have had an impact, making us now kind of more emotionally invested in the Champions League. I may be wrong, right? But your point there for me was bang on the money when you said you can't believe how quickly they folded. There's not a hope in hell that if this was a real proposal with all that investment, all that backing, all those plans, that they would have just gone boom after a day or two. I just can't see it. And maybe I'm being, mega cynical, but I think it's all part. I think it was a series of plays and all part of a grander plan. And I think that the fans think they've won, whereas I think UEFA personally have really got what they want, which is an unrivaled crap Champions League proposal. But we will never know.
You were right. I don't buy what you're saying.
it's just a theory. It was all over a bit.
Club owners. I don't think the club owners and the shrewd, they're shrewd businessmen. I don't think they'd be, whether it's being caught out by UEFA.
I think they're in on it. I think they're all in on it. Honest to God.
Oh, not a chance.
I think they are. Anyway,
the backlash they've had from their own supporters, I just don't think.
I don't think they care. I don't think I think it's all a massive grand plan. Everyone's getting rich out of it, and UEFA are getting what they want personally. And they
they do say there's no publicity is bad. Or what is it? Yeah,
whatever it is. But yeah. Anyway, I have to get that out there because I've been thinking it. But anyway, let's move on to FPL. As Nick says, he says, "Come on, talk FPL, please." Absolutely, let's do that. We just wanted to get our thoughts off our chest there. So, firstly, we have the very latest fixture predictions from Ben Crellin on screen now, and he tweeted earlier to say that he is around 70% sure that this is how Game Week 35 and Game Week 36 will look due to the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Leicester taking place in Game Week 36. So, just to run through it very quickly, so Ben thinks that in Game Week 36. Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United and Leicester, which is the cup final, will blank in 36, and that means that potentially 8 teams will have a double game week in 35. So there's 8 teams being Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester and Manchester United. So Adam, what are your initial thoughts, on how obviously this is not confirmed, and if it is confirmed, when it is confirmed, we will obviously go through it in a lot of detail. But what are your initial thoughts around how to tackle this now?
Personally, I'm just playing it every couple of game weeks at a time. So until the doubles are confirmed, I'm not too worried about it at the moment. I'll take it into account with my transfers, but that's the extent. I'm not. Because looking at the 4 teams that are likely to double and play in 36.
Yeah.
So you got, quickly let's look at Palace and Southampton. I'm not interested in players from any of those 2 teams.
Yeah.
So you can take those 2 teams out. I suppose if you've got a bench boost, Palace and Southampton players could be okay, but not for me. And then you look at Villa and Everton. I suppose they're a little bit more interesting, but they've been a little bit out of sorts recently, and I think there are better options. in general. I think Villa without Grealish, from an attacking perspective, just don't interest me at all.
Yeah.
So I think then you look at, and then a lot of us, or own players from United, Leicester, Chelsea, and some people Arsenal. So we're already set up for it, really. If that double happens, but you would expect from the four teams just mentioned that there'll be some rotation. Definitely for United, Chelsea, and Arsenal who are involved in Europe. So I'm I'm not really too concerned about it, because for those four teams as well, the chances are they blank the following game week. So you're going to have to do in and out transfers, which will cost you 4 or arguably 8 points if it's in and out. So yeah, for me, I'm not massively. It's not until it's confirmed. It's not really in my thinking too much at all at the moment. I'll just take transfers into account. But I think I probably want to balance my team, because what I don't want is to have loads in 35 and then, only 6 starters in 36.
Well, it's normally me who pours the water all over this stuff. So I'm glad I'm glad it's you this week, because yeah, I'm in agreement with you. The way it's fallen, I also think and we're seeing it time and time again, right? Even though there's it looks really attractive on paper. There's a load of doubles there. A lot of the key teams and players who you'd want there, are in in European action and things. There's no way that I say there's no way. I think it's unlikely that a lot of the key players will play both the doubles when it's kind of all around Europe as well. And as you said, if you look at the fixtures themselves, the better teams haven't got very attractive fixtures either. So, Villa have got United and Everton. You're really not going to want to plough into Palace, Everton, Southampton anyway because of their form. Arsenal have got Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal have got West Brom, which is a nice fixture, and Chelsea, which isn't a nice fixture. Chelsea have got City and Arsenal. Leicester have got Newcastle, which they have anyway, and then Man United away, and then United have Villa away and Leicester. So for me, it's not like massively attractive, and also you need to be careful, because obviously if you plow into these 35 doubles, as we know, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, and United are not are going to blank in 36 anyway. So my kind of initial thought are the doubles are not very attractive. I think it's going to actually even out anyway. In terms of, even if you score points at 35. I think it'll kind of even out over 35 and 36. If you don't score big in 35, you probably do okay in 36. And I think we should probably try not to be too clever to manipulate them, because as we've seen time and time again, trying to be too clever in this game just backfires, especially when there's European involvement, especially when there's loads of rotation, players are tired this time of the season. What about for people, Adam, who've got chips? Because, I know a couple of people have still got, a kind of wild card and bench boost. Some have still got free hit and things as well. I doubt many have probably got triple captain left, obviously, because of the Kane that's just gone in 32. But if you had your wild card and bench boost left, as an example, would you try and attack the double, or would you still just try and set your team up for the remainder of the season?
I think let's break it down. I think if you've got a free hit, I think it makes sense to use it. Depends on how your team is currently for the current game week, but I think it would make sense to use it in either 35 or 36 if you have a free hit left.
Yeah.
Because you could effectively go into that double game week, pick 11 double game week players, and you could pick who is in form at that time, and we'll have more information at that point. So I think that's valid. Or you could do load up and free hit in 36. So I think I think that would be what I would do. But it's all. I don't think you can blanket a strategy for anybody, because mine and your team are very similar, but most people's are very different, and it really depends on how you were set up. I know originally there was talk of people potentially free hitting this game week if they had it left, but I'm not really sure I would do that.
I think the way that it's evened out with, like, I I think the feeling was previously that a lot of people would still have, double or triple City as well as Spurs. Obviously, it hasn't happened like that.
Yeah, so I think for me, and the same with wildcard, I think there is an opportunity with the doubles in round 35 and 36. But if your team needs a wildcard now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I think once you get to, maybe when you get to next week, it's worth possibly waiting the extra week. But I would definitely, if your team needs a wildcard now, do it now.
I completely agree, and I think there's a couple of fixtures this weekend in particular which stand out, namely Liverpool and Newcastle, and Leicester and Palace, and also Liverpool and Leicester have got beautiful fixtures for a long time as well. So you're not just bringing them in like for this week, but this week they are stunning fixtures. They could be really big scores as well. If you haven't got Trent and Salah or Iheanacho, maybe Vardy, maybe a Leicester defender, surely you're better off now bringing those players in now than waiting to use your wild cards in 34 to do a bench boost in 35. And I completely agree. I would kind of wild card now. I'd still probably bench boost, maybe in 35, and wild cards with that in mind. But even those who've held off now for wildcard in 31 probably haven't got maybe Vardy's points or Trent's points that they've scored over the last fortnight, because those players are very hard to get in without a wildcard. And I just think the longer you leave it, okay, you may get a bit of a boost in 35, but look at all the points you're kind of missing out on. And in terms of free hit, if I had the free hit, I would definitely go for 36, because you're going to have a decent team for 35 anyway, because most of the big teams, like like a lot of people at the moment have got United players, maybe Bruno and Shaw, maybe even Greenwood. We've got some Leicester players, we've got Chelsea players, maybe Everton, maybe Villa, maybe Martinez. We've got a lot more ready. 36, I personally think is a pretty good time to play the free hit. City, for example, have got Newcastle, Sheffield United have got Everton, Liverpool have got West Brom. There's some really tasty fixtures in there as well. Spurs have got Wolves, things. So there's some tasty fixtures in there. So I suppose that's taken on double. Obviously, we don't know them yet, and as soon as they are confirmed, we'll obviously look at them in a bit more detail. But looking now, Adam, at the upcoming fixtures in terms of fixture ease, we now have a graphic up from the Hub's new and updated fixture ticker, which is absolutely fantastic. So if you want to use this for yourself, completely customizable, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk/fixture ticker, and it shows the remaining fixtures by order of ease. Shows Liverpool right up the top. Their running is just absolutely insane. Newcastle at home, United away, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, and Palace. Man United have got a really nice run in as well. Man City after this week have got really nice fixtures as well. It's going to be hard there because they're probably going to score a few points, but it's obviously about guessing which ones. Arsenal, who obviously haven't got many players at the moment, and Chelsea as well. And down the bottom, Crystal Palace. I mean, God, they are in for it, aren't they? And their final 6 games include Leicester, Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Newcastle, because I was looking at Saint-Maximin, for example, but the next few fixtures, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester, and Man City, absolutely stinking. West Brom's turned quite tough as well. But look at those fixtures there, Adam, in terms of teams now, kind of strategy-wise, in terms of teams to target and things, knowing what we know about the fixtures in the previous slide. What kind of teams are you targeting in which period? What are your thoughts?
I think you could almost split it in half, couldn't you? Before up to 35, and then the last 3 game weeks. So I think I'm quite pleased with I've got 5. Well, it depends on Jota, doesn't it? But I've got 5 Liverpool and United players, so who I'll probably keep for the rest of the season. I'm just looking down it. I think for me, I'll probably keep Chelsea up until the Arsenal game, and then maybe ditch them for the last couple, or not go double defence. I think Brighton are good for the next 4. In fact, you could argue that Arsenal away, I could see them keeping a clean sheet there.
Yeah.
So I think Brighton are a team to target defensively. So I think looking at it for me, and then obviously I think people have mentioned Leeds and West Ham have got a fairly good both got a fairly good last 3 fixtures. So so they'll probably be on the target towards the end of the season. But I think for me, I wouldn't overcomplicate it. I don't think if you look at the top teams, they've all got okay. They've all got fixtures they could return in. I think if you look at Liverpool United, like with in fact Liverpool United, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, I just think don't overcomplicate it. I think with someone like Iniacho, for example, if we're coming up to the last couple of games of the season, he's still performing like he is, I just think just keep him. That seems to be working. They might do quite well on the counter attack against Chelsea and Spurs. So yeah. I just wouldn't overcomplicate it at this stage of the season. Personally, I think you're going to be a bit more gung ho with your approach.
Well, just in terms of targeting these players very specifically, Liverpool and Leicester for these next 3, I think they're just stunning fixtures. So Liverpool home to Newcastle and Southampton. Just in terms of Jota maybe out. I've got a treble up of Trent, Salah, and Jota. He may be out, which is a shame. And even after that, they got West Brom, Burnley, and Palace. They've got no cap involvement at all, and they'll be scrapping till the death the top 4. So I think that Liverpool are a prime team. So if you're not tripled up on Liverpool, I would definitely get on board. If you can get in Trent, I mean, how dangerous did he look against Leeds? In fact, in his last few games, I'm so I'm really glad with wildcard in 31, and I was tossing up actually between Trent and Vardy, and I'm so glad I listened to Will, because what he told me has come to fruition this week now. Because I was either on the Vardy and a cheap defender or Trent and a cheap striker, and he said it will be easier for you to bring in Vardy than it will to bring in Trent. And that is probably my plan this week now, and I can get to Vardy really easily. Whereas getting to Trent now, if you don't have him, will probably require a bit of a shuffle, maybe a -4, maybe in a -8, because he's so much more expensive, than kind of any of the other ones. So I think Liverpool for sure. Man United just seem to be scoring goals, and I'm sure we'll move on to some players next, but maybe Bruno isn't the answer. I won't be too fast to get rid of him, but I do think there's definitely other options there.
I think Spurs are interesting. Be interested because that particularly if you'd expect Bale to play most of the matches now. So does that make them a better attacking option? So they score quite low, don't they, on that tickers? But I'm guessing that's because of how they've performed from an attacking perspective under Mourinho. Yeah. So I think they could do. I think if you look at it, Sheffield United, Leeds, Wolves, Villa are arguably very, 3 of them at home, very good fixtures.
Yeah, I've got a decision to kind of make on Kane as well, because if he is fit for that Sheffield United game, which you get he probably is. Like, I'm thinking this week of doing Kane to Vardy, but it may end up being like a 1 week swap, kind of aggressive swap, but we'll kind of see on that. And just a couple of other observations. Arsenal's fixtures again, they're really, really, really good. It's just hard to get excited. I think Lacazette will probably be out for a few weeks. Aubameyang back in training this week. I really like Saka, Smith Rowe. They're just so inconsistent. It's just a real problem. Jota to Saka, maybe something to do if Jota's injured. It'll save a bit of money. I really like Saka, but I think I think it's probably best with Arsenal to see how they get on in the Europa first. A couple of other observations, like Leicester to Leeds off in Gameweek 36 looks really, really good. So I know you mentioned about Iheanacho, and I agree in terms of his price.
Him to Bamford quite easily,
yeah. But I agree in terms of the price. So Leicester's next 3: Palace, Southampton, Newcastle. followed by a final 3 away to Man United, away to Chelsea, and home to Spurs. That is a real flipping fixtures. Whereas Leeds go the other way, so their next 3 are United, Brighton, and Spurs, but their last 3 are Burnley, Southampton, and West Brom. So
I don't think it makes loads of difference with Leeds, to be honest.
I don't know. I kind of agree. I kind of agree, but it's hard to put Leeds players in when there are so many other great options like Liverpool and Leicester and stuff. But again, glad I held on to Dallas. But obviously Rafinha, Bamford, Harrison. We'll touch on Harrison in a bit because he's been performing really well recently as well. And just one more observation, I suppose with like Leicester, we had a question earlier in the chat around Maddison. So I didn't watch the game earlier, but apparently he was pretty ineffective from what I'm hearing. Came off early. Like he looked superb when Barnes in the team and Vardy was playing up front by himself. I'm just not sure that their new formation with the 2 up front would suit Maddison. They can't afford to commit too many bodies forward. And, with Iheanacho and Vardy up there, maybe Maddison is not as attractive as we thought. So we've now got a graphic up from the Hubs Opta Stats tools. This is filtering expected points by appearance the last 4 game weeks. Pereira for West Brom, top of the shop at the moment, even albeit it's only a couple of appearances in the last 4. With 9.9 averaging. Mason Greenwood. Now I must be honest. I think we mentioned him last week, but I think he's gone a bit under the radar for us, maybe. But he's averaged over his last 3 games 7.6 points. Jack Harrison, as we mentioned earlier, averaged 7.3 over his last 3 points. Harrison, in terms of expected points. Mo Salah back on it, 7.2. Cancelo, he's only started the 1. We could probably ignore him. Harry Kane still up there, 7. Bruno, actually, Bruno's expected point. You mentioned he looked dangerous. His expected points is 6.9 points per game over the last 3, but his actual points are only 3. So he's been kind of underperforming there against his stats. So maybe Bruno is one to hold on to there.
I think he's like, when you look at the last 6 game weeks for expected points, I think he's like 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
So he's still posting the numbers. I'm not too worried about Bruno.
And the next one down is someone you mentioned to me earlier, someone you're very, very excited about. Chris Wood. Chris Wood. Talk to us about Chris Wood, Adam.
So I just think at the moment, the last few matches, I think he's looked really dangerous. I think stats-wise, he's doing really well. So he's up there. I mean, if you look at the chart that's on the screen at the moment, shot volume, there's only Salah and Kane. He's in pretty good company. If you look at shots in the box, he's right up there. He's averaging a big chance per match. I think he was unlucky versus United. He caused them loads of problems. Yeah. I think he's worth considering. I probably won't because I've got I'm a 3-5-2 that I'm happy with at the moment, and I'm happy with Vidra as my cheap sub. But I think if he would be a player, I think looking back, I think it's probably a move you didn't need to make last week. I think but this week he's got an okay fixture, and I think he'll do okay towards the maybe get 4 or 5 goals in the run-in. So he's consistently getting the stats every game. That's what I like about him at the moment, irrespective of who Burnley are playing. The one that stands out for me is Greenwood, and he's got the goals, but if you looking at the stats here, because I think is really important. Shots, he's averaging 4 shots a match. That's if Greenwood's having 4 shots a match, you can expect things to happen. I think he's got some creativity as well, which I quite like. So he's been getting a couple of assists, and it just seems to be. I think him and Rashford have looked really good. You can throw Cavani in there as well, but will he start every match? And I just think because looking slightly at the stats and value, I'd probably go for Greenwood over Rashford. I think Rashford as well. He always seems to have these little niggles.
He does, yeah.
But he looks good. I think in the eye test, he looked really good. I thought on Sunday at times.
He comes off early, and United have always got these things at end of matches where they catch their teams on the break, and actually, even though Bruno passed to Van der Beek, who crossed for Cavani in the end, Bruno could have just as easily passed it out wide to Greenwood, who was running, who was running outside on the other side, and Greenwood could have had a mega, a hat trick, So yeah, I think that, and the thing is, with Martial injured, you'd think, even if they wanted to give someone a rest, it would probably be Cavani, bring in someone like Dan James on the wing and put Greenwood up front. So I think that he's pretty, safe actually for a while. He may get the odd dress, obviously with the Europa League and stuff, but he's so young and fit that
if he comes off the bench, you don't need, like you said about the last 20 minutes,
of the game.
United, it's not necessarily a bad thing if he's coming on for the last 20 minutes. So I think for me, I'm interested in Greenwood, particularly with the news of Jota.
Just thinking that then, yeah.
But it's annoying because I'd have to use 2 transfers to do it, but I think I would do it because particularly if Jota's out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity there, but I think we'll have to wait and see on that one with Klopp's press conference tomorrow.
Okay, let's jump in the chat and see if we can answer a couple of questions. Firstly, Sanjay Patel, he says the free hit in 35 looks better because you can retain your team with Liverpool and Spurs, for example. Not sure.
I think that on that, it just depends how your team's set up. If it's set up nicely for 35, do it in 36. It's likely to be set up well for one of the 2 game weeks, isn't it? So just free hit in the other. I don't think it matters too much personally.
Guy Parfait said Leeds after 35 look tasty, absolutely, Guy. And they're playing really well. I mean, they just put on a couple of really good performances against City and Liverpool as well. They prove that they can complete. To your point earlier, I think you're absolutely right. They prove that they can just play against anyone, can't they? Sanjay also says Spurs new manager bounce and going for Europa again. Adam, you said
valid points, really valid points.
Good point there. Christian says think Leeds will finish strongly. Any news on Rafinha? I don't think he's going to be back this week. I think it was actually Bruno Fernandes who came out and said he was looking forward to playing him and he's not playing. But I don't think he's back. But you would guess that he would be back for their run of fixtures at the end. Stefan L says, to take Jota out for a -4. Obviously hard to say until we know. But what do you say, Adam? If Jota is confirmed out, do you think Jota to Greenwood for a -4 is a worthwhile investment?
Well, it depends how long he's out for. If he's out for a week, probably. Maybe not, but if it's a long-term injury, then I would do it.
Okay. G2W Veltman, one of the best defenders to buy, and only 4.4. Again, backing up your Brighton theory there, Adam. All the points you've made, Adam, are in the chat. You probably copied the template of the chat when you were making your comments because you.
Well, I think just watching Brighton the other day, they didn't really give Chelsea anything. And then when you look at the stats, so both over the season and the last 6 games, Brighton are the 3rd best defence from an XG conceded over the season, and I think they're 2nd in the last 6 games. So I do think, the value for them as well. For Sanchez, still 4.5 million. So I could be tempted with that move, Mendy to Sanchez or Rudiger to Veltman.
Yeah, I
don't think they're or even. So I think jumping on them. The only fixture I don't really like is the City one, but I think they've kept a clean sheet away at Chelsea. So they keep a clean sheet away at Liverpool as well. So. You could argue they're pretty much fixture proof from a defensive perspective.
I think for me, and this is probably why you're better in FPL than I am, but I just kind of look at how many weeks are left. What have we got? We got 6 transfers left now for the whole season. In terms of free transfers left. I just think that someone like Rudiger to Veltman for me is just not a very exciting sort of transfer. I
No.
can understand the reason why, but I think there's maybe more upside sort of options.
Oh no, I agree with you on that. I wouldn't do it for a sideways move. The reason I may do it is I've got 2 free transfers. I quite like my team at the moment, so it would just be, well, I could spread the risk, and actually it could be more useful down the line. Because I think you mentioned you think Rudiger's going to get rested, don't you? So the Veltman has got Sheffield United. Get the points in. Now I've got Mendy as well, so I wouldn't do it as I would only do it to not burn one of my 2 free transfers. I may just burn it, but that's the only way I would consider that type of move.
Yeah, I reckon that Rudiger, he'll get a rest. He's played the last few. Aspie was rested this week, and they've got home and away legs now against Real. You would guess he's going to play in both of them, so I think he gets a rest either this week or next week personally. But we'll see about that. G2W says Mitchell looking like a must buy. Josh Longworth said Maddison was fantastic. But then Guy Parfitt says Maddison was great in the game, but not very dangerous from an FPL point of view. Yeah, obviously when I talk about how well a player is playing, for me I generally mean from a fantasy sort of view. And Guy also says Greenwood's so good off both feet, makes his chances even more likely to be slotted in. Sanjay asks a good question. Would you do Son to Greenwood and Aman24? Ditch Son to spread funds. I need TAA. Yeah. What about Son? Bear in mind, obviously they blanked this week. They got Sheffield United and then Leeds back to back.
So what? This was at the start of the game week. This was my planned move, and the reason was exactly that, to free up funds, because if I want to make moves further down the line, I've got no money at the moment, so it's really hard to react to anything. But the thing that puts me off is next game week in particular, because Liverpool play United, and I'd have 6 players involved, and I just don't. I think I'd probably rather keep some for Sheffield United, and also I think Spurs will attack in the last few games. I think they'll play, but they tend to be better with Bale playing from an attacking perspective. So I think he'll play. So I think I don't think I would make that move. I like Spurs' last 5 fixtures, and I think keeping Kane and Son makes it. And it only took a Son penalty for him to get 10 points last night, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And he had a goal ruled out as well, didn't he? So
I think you could look at that maybe both ways. He did have the goal ruled out, but if he hadn't got the penalty, he would have blanked again, and maybe we'd be having a different conversation. If Kane had been playing, Kane would have taken the penalty, but then obviously if Kane had been playing, they would have probably created more chances and whatever else. So Bale's not a bad shot. I mean, what a finish! He should
it's great, wasn't it? It was absolutely great goal.
Class again, but obviously they haven't got any doubles or anything. So maybe if you've got Kane and Son, you probably don't want to be kind of swapping around with Bale. So we've now got up on the screen another graphics. This is from our Hubs Opta-Stats tool. This is filtering by teams' defensive performance for the last 4 game weeks, and we filtered it by expected goals conceded. Top of the shop is Man City, even though they keep conceding 0.53. Chelsea's has dipped a little bit over the last few games, 0.91. But the only other team then under 1 per game at the moment is Brighton. So, everything we kind of mentioned earlier around Brighton is right. They have the 3rd best defence from expected goals conceded perspective over the last 4 games. Everton, surprisingly, 1.17. Man United and Wolves, 1.2. Looking at the 3 worst, so all these 3 teams have got the worst expected goals conceded over the last 4 games. Southampton, over 2 goals per game, 2.11. Burnley, 2.6. And Palace, even though their sample size only over 2 games, expected goals conceded of 3.29 per game over the last 2, which is remarkably high. When you consider they play Leicester next, that is quite frightening there, Adam. So just looking at some players, I know we've mentioned a lot of players there. Just a couple of players I'd like to kind of shout in the mix as well. I know we've mentioned Greenwood. I'd really like to look of Wan-Bissaka as well. I know we've mentioned Shaw, and I do agree. Wan-Bissaka from the eye test, also, he looks a different player this season to last, doesn't he? And he's very, very attacking. And there was a corner actually. So Shaw, he took a corner on the weekend, and Maguire headed it down to the back post. Wan-Bissaka, if he was a bit quick off the mark, would have had a tap in the back post. He seems to have have been getting in those positions a lot this year, and I do think that Wan-Bissaka is a good shout. Pogba is another one who, I don't know, he just seems to keep finding ways of getting put. He should have had another assist last week for Cavani, shouldn't he, as well? The goal that was disallowed because of a toenail or whatever it was. What are your thoughts on Pogba? Do you think he is an option, or do you just stick with Bruno?
I just think I prefer Bruno, Greenwood, and Rashford over Pogba. So
okay, would they be your kind of 3 United players of choice if you had to?
No, I would go Shaw, Bruno, Greenwood.
Yeah, I think,
and that's what I may have at this week. Who knows?
And just in terms of Liverpool, then, so with Jota potentially being out, we're not sure, right? But those fixtures are just absolutely amazing. I think we called it last week. Did say that Mane. So even though he hasn't been playing very well, when Trent plays well, he tends to feed Mane, and Robertson tends to feed Salah. It's kind of how it's generally worked over the years, haven't it? And obviously Mane got the goal. He hasn't been playing really, really well. But he's never far away. And if Jota is injured, then Mane, is probably guaranteed to start every single game. Do you think Mane is worth a punt for those who are chasing a bit, or do you think maybe using your triple up slot, assuming that most have got Trent and Salah, would you maybe go for someone like Robertson or Firmino or someone else? What are your thoughts on that third Liverpool spot?
I think both Robertson. If you have Robertson and Trent, there's a lot of money in defence. Because I think the problem with Liverpool is that they still don't look like keeping clean sheets. And if you watch them against Leeds the other night, I only watched probably about the last half an hour, and Leeds could have scored 2 or 3 times. Yeah. And I think when they had Van Dijk there, last season and the season before last, you had confidence in the clean sheets. I don't have confidence in the clean sheets. I think they might get 2 or 3 between now and the end of the season. And I think having either Trent or Robbo is great for attacking returns. And I think they'll both get attacking returns. But I think 7 million, 14 million when you're not in for 2 defenders, where you don't think they're going to keep clean sheets consistently. I'm not sure on that. I even think Newcastle could score the weekend, because I think with St Maximin and the way he's looked, I just think they've looked very vulnerable, and Bamford could have had a hat-trick the other night. So yeah, I'm not sure on that. Mane and Salah, the problem with having both for me is that I think the captaincy is the one. It always makes it quite difficult, and it's just a lot of money in both of them. I think you could go Mane as an alternative for Salah, but I probably wouldn't personally at this. Yeah, I think maybe that's my past experience at the start of the season, but I'd probably stick with Salah. I think if Jota is injured, what I will do is just stick with 2 Liverpool.
Okay, all right.
What about you?
Yeah, just talking it through. Then this is why I never actually make any decisions until after this podcast, because it's always good to sort these options out. Sanjay has made a good point, and he did say that obviously Phillips was missing against Leeds, and Fabinho went into the back, which is when they've tended to look more vulnerable. I do wonder whether Phillips, we've talked about Veltman, and maybe other options. I do wonder whether just slipping in Phillips as a third one there. At 4 million, it's not the end of the world if he plays or not, or gets a clean sheet or not anyway. But he probably is, likely to get a couple of clean sheets.
All I'm saying, just to be clear on that point, I own Trent, and I'm not saying Trent is a bad. I think he's an incredible option. I'm just talking about doubling up playing Liverpool defence each week. That's what I'm talking about, and I think Nat Phillips is fine because he's 4 million or 4.1 million. He offers you that last fifth defender spot. All I was referring to was having both Robbo and Trent. I think. And I know I get the point on Fabinho. He's a really good point, but then Liverpool, they've just had that inconsistency of who's starting what match, and I just wouldn't go for Trent and Robbo personally, although it would be different.
And the only other players, kind of shouting out that I've got on my list, I think a lot of the ones we've mentioned are reasonably obvious, but then reasonably obvious because they've been playing well. I think that Leicester players. So I've had my eye on Vardy, and I'm thinking of bringing in Vardy for this Palace game, and they've also got a decent 34 and potentially a superb 35, or maybe even a double in 35 as well. Castagna. So obviously he played this evening. Back on the right with Thomas on the left. Normally Pereira plays on the right, and Castagna. I remember at the start of the season when Castagna was playing on the right hand side. I think he scored a couple of goals, well, didn't he? And got a couple of assists at the start. So with Pereira likely in and out of the team, I'm just a bit wary of Castagna. He's quite expensive. I think I looked at him on Wildcard, and I think he was something like 5.7 or something. I think
5.7.
Yeah, he was very expensive. I'm not saying I don't think he's a really good pick, but I just think he's quite expensive. What would you say around Castagna? Do you share the same kind of nervousness?
Exactly the same. I just think I'm not sure if you can judge it on tonight, because I think he'll be back. I think when Pereira's on the team, he'll be back over the other side. Yeah. So, I think tonight obviously he was good, but I was playing a very, poor West Brom side. I suppose he's got Palace then the weekend.
This is it.
I would. I mean, I don't think it's a bad time to invest in the Leicester defence, and he's the most attacking. So, do I think he's a good option? And should you consider him the next 3 or 4 game weeks? Well, I don't think we could say no to that.
Yeah.
Would it tear up my team to bring him in? No. I think he's expensive relative to the likes of Shaw.
Yeah, agree with that.
That's what, and I know Trent is obviously the most expensive, but I think he's justifying his price at the moment. So I think it depends. If you need a defender, I think he's worth considering.
Kieran, Flood, and Gavinho say Castagna was brilliant tonight. He was great. He hit the post too, apparently. I think he's good. He's just a bit expensive, and Gavinho was 0.3 short, so had to go for Fofana. You probably can't yourself a look, even though I think Fofana was brought off on 60 earlier and got his clean sheet. So I think you've been quite fortunate there. Maybe. James Key said Luke Thomas only 4.1 for Leicester. Yeah, but I think Pereira is going to be in and out, so I'm not sure Luke Thomas is worth getting in there. And Sanjay just mentions on Fantasy Football Hub, Phillips was forecasted to get top 5 points before injury. So we can't forget that he was Phillips was due to score well for the rest of the season. Last shout from Gavinho around potential Jota replacements. We must say we don't know if he's injured or not, but it is worth just having a chat about it. He says Mason Mount. I'm a bit less convinced with Mount than I am with someone like Green for a number of reasons. His minutes are going to be managed, you guess. I'd be surprised if he plays against West Ham on the weekend. So he played against Brighton in the week. I think he also played on the weekend. And obviously they've got those back-to-back Madrid games. He's also been playing in that midfield three, whereas if you do look at someone like Greenwood, who's just playing, coming inside from that right hand side, playing a much more attacking role. He's obviously a better finisher than Mount as well. I think that Greenwood is probably the really obvious answer there. Out of Greenwood, Maddison, and Mount. Do you agree there, Adam? Is he your
absolutely? Yeah, the only other two players that I would consider, and it's not the week to do it, is I think Rafinha's potentially injured, so we'll wait and see on that. But the other one is Bowen. I think Bowen looks really good at the moment. I think he has done for a few weeks, but that would partly depend on how long Antonio's out. So for me, all my decisions this week are going to go to the press conferences, because there's just so much that I think we need to find out. Let's just hope they don't ask them any more ESL questions, and they just ask them pure, is so and so injured? Right. That's all I'm hoping. But
for all your latest injury news and team news, make sure you go to Fantasy Football Hub, where Ben Dinnery, Mr. Injury and Mr. Team News himself, keeps his article up to date throughout the day, and also on Twitter as well. Okay, so we've now got your team on screen, Adam, for this weekend, with a very strange looking formation forced upon you. Do you want to read out your team for our podcast listeners and run us through your thoughts?
Yeah, of course. So I've got Mendy in goal, hopefully. Trent, Holding, Cody, Shaw and Rudiger at the back. I've got Salah captain, Lingard, Bruno, hopefully Jota, who knows, and Iniacho. And then I've got my only playing sub is Vidra. So at the moment, my thought process is, I know I don't really want to do an in and out Kane to Vardy, because I think I suppose what I should say is all of my decisions are team news dependent. So if Kane is ruled out for a month, then that would change my decision to do it. So when I look at it, the key things I'm looking for tomorrow is team news on Jota, Kane, the goalkeeping situation at Chelsea. They're probably the key things that I'm looking for tomorrow, and trying to hopefully get some clarity on. I've got 2 free transfers. On the whole, I like my team, and if everyone was fit and and everything is going my way, and I'm happy with all of the answers, I could even burn a transfer. I could do what I said earlier, do something like Rudiger to Veltman, Mendy to Sanchez, just to split the risk. But I'd probably burn a transfer, because the way that I see it, if like with Kane and Vardy, for example, I do Kane to Vardy. I just think then the following week, I want Kane back. So do I reverse the transfer? But then Vardy's got a couple of good fixtures. I just think I want my money in midfield and defence, and I like my structure, and I'm not going to disrupt that. And so the only move would be Kane to Vardy and reversing it. But the other thing is I've got no money in the bank, so I won't be able to do that because of the money I've made in Kane. So I'm not going to mess around with it. I think Kane is one of my untouchables for the rest of the season, subject to his fitness. So what I'm thinking of doing, it's looking. I mean, there seems like there's too much smoke with around Jota for him not to be injured. So if he is injured, I will do Jota to Greenwood, and then I need to make up about 0.2 million to do that move. So I would probably change my defence around. So I would probably have to do either Rudiger to Veltman or Mendy to Sanchez. Which out those two moves, which do you prefer? Mendy to Sanchez or Rudiger to Veltman? Or do you think it just doesn't make any difference?
I think they're much of a muchness. I think the only thing I would say, I'm just looking at Chelsea's fixtures, and obviously they're away to West Ham this week, and then Fulham in 34. I mean, the Fulham game was obviously a really nice defensive fixture there, but you are going to have your Spurs boys back for that one as well. I wonder if you need Rudiger. because after that they've got Man City, Arsenal, Leicester,
Yeah, exactly.
and Villa. So I'm not even sure you need Rudiger long term. I think that the Chelsea had that run, didn't they? Between, was it like 27 and like 33 or whatever it was, which is a really, really nice run. I think that, Mendy plays the vast majority of the games. I think Rudiger would as well.
I think just to make clear, if I could do Jota to Greenwood and not have to make another move, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
and I would
of course,
do the one move. But I'm looking for that 0.2 million, and I think the only holding is cheap enough to keep. I'm not going to get any change or there. Cody's a possibility. I think Cody and Rudiger are the two possible defenders, so I could do Cody to Veltman. That's a possibility, because I want Cody out around 35, 36 anyway. So Cody to Veltman, and then I get to keep double Chelsea.
I'm also looking at Brighton's last three, because obviously if you go, as a really good point in the chat by Gavinho, obviously if you go Veltman, you can bench him at times, because their last three are West Ham, City, and Arsenal as well. Who could potentially look. I say have something to play for. They're three attacking teams. I think that is a good shout. I'd probably go Rudiger out.
Well, the other, if I do went Sanchez for Mendy, I think Forster's last two fixtures, off from what I remember, are okay, and I'd actually be happy playing. I'd be happy playing Sanchez away at Arsenal.
Fair enough.
Because I just think that they've been that good defensively. So, it all comes down to whether Jota is injured tomorrow. Yeah. As to what I do, but ideal would be to take 2 free transfers into next week.
Couple of points in the chat. They reckon that Sigurdsson could be a good option. It's hard to argue, really. He's on penalties as well, which is obviously a big, really big pull. But their next few games, Everton, they got Arsenal, then they got Villa, West Ham, Sheffield United, and Wolves. So that is not a bad shout, Sigurdsson in that midfield.
I like. Do you know what? I do like Sigurdsson. How much is he?
I've got to be fair. I haven't got a clue. I haven't even looked at him this season. I think the thing with Sigurdsson, which I don't like, is he sometimes finds himself being randomly dropped. He'll just be dropped or resting the odd. Gets the only thing with Sigurdsson, which it puts me off a little bit. But he is on penalties when he starts. Obviously, got the couple of goals against Spurs, so it's hard.
He looked good against Spurs, yeah.
Hard to argue.
And I think Everton looked better with James. Particularly, I thought James looked great against Spurs. But then I think Calvert-Lewin's back, isn't he? So does that upset the dynamic? Do they?
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me, I think Greenwood's stats he's posted have been the best he's been since he's been at United and broken into the team, and we know he's a good finisher. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But I think there's a few people mentioning about the goalkeeper situation, so maybe changing my keeper could be a good move. But I genuinely think that Mendy is number one at Chelsea, and I think the fact he played him in the Champions League, and he hasn't done anything to lose his place.
Oh, he hasn't.
And the other thing as well is what we talked about at the start. Tuchel's already done this, where he's played Kepa in the Cup and then played him the following game to keep his confidence high. I actually sort of see the logic in it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think it's actually quite a clever thing to do, because then they're not just in for one game and then back in the cold. So I think it's a good way of keeping him involved. So this is the warm up for the Champions League, isn't it? They play the Champions League in the week, so I'd be very surprised if Mendy doesn't play.
Sigurdsson is 6.8, by the way.
So I could
straight swap for Jota.
I think I could do that, but
I think Greenwood just looks. He's just he's playing up front. He finished last season absolutely on fire, didn't he? I think Greenwood is the play, and I do this is a decision I've got now. So just move on to my team. Mendy in goals, the same as you. Actually, our team is almost the same. So I've got Rudiger, Trent, Shaw, Cody. I've got Dallas at the moment as my 5th midfielder. Where have you got Holden, I think, haven't you? Lingard, Jota, Bruno, Salah, and Iheanacho. And I've got a bench of Forster, Kane, Son, and the legend that is Keenan Davis, who came on the other
know
night.
what?
Thanks for the tweet, mate. Appreciate that.
I know, yeah, no worries. I think he could be making an appearance for you this week, Keenan Davis.
Home to West Brom. Can you imagine if he started that game and got decided to give Ollie Watkins his much needed rest? That would be.
I think it's more likely he'll play alongside Watkins, and I like Davis. I think he at least he offers something. I was so gutted when Cash stupidly dived. Oh, that was madness.
It changed the game, didn't it? It was hilarious, Dave, because I saw he came on at half time, and I was just messing around, and I looked at my phone, and my notifications just went absolutely, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And I realised that I was getting a load of messages and tweets around, Davis is on, he's going to do it. We're getting shouts in the chat already. Get Davis in the side. Keno. I think I'd be very, very brave to play. I hope, what I really hope is that I put him on the bench, but that he needs to come in, if that makes sense. So I haven't actually picked him. So then, if he comes on then and scores, the glory! Can you imagine the absolute glory of that pick? It would be absolutely amazing. Daniel Robert asks Davis triple captain. Ruben says brave bench in Davis. We're not getting into all this again after the week. So my thoughts before we came on this stream were quite an aggressive Kane to Vardy. It was just Kane to Vardy, and Sanjay made a really good point earlier on, actually, that Vardy may well double in 35, whereas Kane won't. So you're actually getting, in essence, like a 4-for-2 Vardy over Kane. I think the problem with Kane in 34 is he will very likely be the massively outstanding captaincy option. I do not want to go into Sheffield United without Harry Kane. That would be self-harm, I think. But now, obviously, with the Jota injury, I really like Greenwood as well. And, obviously...
Have you got any money in the bank?
Not a lot, no. Not hardly anything. So
could you do Jota to Greenwood as a straight move?
I probably could, but I just like Vardy. I like Vardy. And you know what? I don't actually mind taking a hit or two over the maybe next week or the week after. I mean, if I had to go Vardy back to Kane, I think that Vardy scores points next Monday night against Palace. I think he will buy his hit back and more.
To be honest, I wouldn't. If you bring Vardy in, no, I'm not. I'm saying if you bring Vardy in, I wouldn't do Vardy back to Kane.
Well, I'd have to find a way back to Kane is the problem.
I would do. I think you lose. I think probably Bruno would be the one that you would lose for the.
Bruno down to Greenwood.
Yeah, Bruno down to Greenwood.
I couldn't do that because I'd have to do Davis up to Kane.
Hang on. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
I'm not getting rid of Keenan Davis, mate. You're
not going to do Davis to Kane.
No, not to Davis to Kane. Yeah, I'm not laugh. Good.
Bit of a sideways transfer.
Good point from Sanjay. Kane is injured, so even if he comes back, will he be captained and play 90? That is hard to argue.
We just don't know at this stage, do we?
I'll be gutted if I do. If I don't do Kane out and Vardy hauls, which, let's be honest, he is likely to score some points on Monday evening. He's more likely than not at home to Palace, right? And then Kane is also out for 34, for example. I'll be absolutely kicking myself. I will already have Vardy in place for his next fixture the week after. And obviously, Greenwood then plays Liverpool in 34, which is obviously not the nicest. I don't even think Leeds away is the nicest fixture this weekend, personally, because I think Leeds have shown both against Man City and Liverpool that they're just up for it. And I think United will score maybe a goal or two. Like it's not going to be a 6-2 again or wherever it is. You know what I mean? So this is why I'm kind of tempted to do that. I tell you what I didn't think of though, and you may be absolutely right here, is I'm not sure how much value I've got in Kane. And if I can't get him back then in one move, I'm in trouble there. So
I'm just not sure that, because Vardy's got a couple of good fixtures after that. If you're going to bring Vardy in, I think I'd probably look at another route to get Kane in, but then actually it might be really difficult looking.
Well, I haven't got a route. I've only got Iheanacho or Davis, so I need to find like 6 or 7 million from somewhere for a -4, which is not really. It's only Bruno to Smith Rowe. Which
you could argue with the transfers you've got left. So to bring Vardy in, you're obviously using a transfer. To take him out, you're using a transfer in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're using, well, it's at least a -4, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to use other stuff. But say Jota's injured, you need more value to get Kane back. It could end up being a -8. I'm just not sure the in and out is worth it, personally.
I agree with you. I do. I'm not sure. And maybe I'll do like a different sort of move so I can maybe maximise a bit of Leicester attack, maybe. But I fancy Vardy. I just think he looks... I think the only thing where I'm not totally committed to it is I probably wouldn't captain him. So even if he does, if I was bringing him in to captain him, I would definitely do it. But Salah home to Newcastle for me is a bit too appealing. But we'll move on to captain.
I think the one thing I would say is that at Leicester at the moment, I know Vardy got a goal and assist tonight, but it's all in Iheanacho. I mean, just some cold hard facts from tonight. Iheanacho had 8 shots, Vardy had 4.
Yeah,
and I don't think I'm not saying that Vardy won't haul, but I think Iheanacho is the one that I think we're going on to captains in a minute, but I think he's taken over from Vardy in the last few weeks as the talisman for that team. So yeah, and I think Vardy really complements him, particularly from a creative point of view. I think the assist for his goal today was absolutely brilliant. So it'll be interesting. I'm not convinced on Vardy for a 1 week punt personally.
I think what I'll be doing if I do that, just kind of thinking about it. There's been some really good shouts in the chat. Salah away to United in 34, right? So I could do Salah down to. We've had some shouts for Martinelli. He's playing well. Smith Rowe, I kind of made a joke with him earlier. I moved him out last week, but I do think he's actually a really good shout. A play-in cam, as Kazim says. The problem is then if I'm manipulating my team around these players, I'm taking hits because I'm going to want Salah back in 35 because he's likely going to have a double. I think are they going to have a double in 35? I'm not sure actually. No, but they're home against Southampton, so I'm going to want him back for that. And this is the problem by playing this game. It is a chain, and it's kind of hit after hit, and all for wanting one player. So I think you're right.
So I think in Sky, this sort of thing can work really well. What you're referring to, because almost like a daisy chain of transfers and moving them back. I think it works really well, particularly obviously when it obviously depends on when the fixtures are as well, or the game days. But I just think you're going to end up chasing your tail.
I agree. I completely agree. And taking hits all over the shop, and also playing kind of week to week, whereas the way kind of like to play is always it's kind of looking ahead as well.
But it almost seems quite anti you in a way from some of the stuff that you've preached. So that's why
definitely.
To explore.
You're definitely right. Is that if it was a pure kind of 1 week punt, I wouldn't really mind, but there is a chain reaction there where it means that then I need to get Kane back. How do I do that? I need to make another move or take a hit or whatever else. And all this then is completely reliant on Vardy hauling against Palace, who I'm not captaining. So it doesn't really make sense. If I was captaining him, if I was expecting a brace off Vardy, captain him 26 points, I've then got a bit of profit to actually think, actually, I can afford to mess around a bit. But, even if Vardy gets a 9-pointer against Palace, I'd probably be pleased. But the chain reaction that sets off in terms of I still haven't got Greenwood. I then may have to sell Salah or something stupid like this to get it back. It doesn't really work. So, yes, I like that. I think that talking that through makes sense. So I'm not sure on my move. If Jota's injured, if I can go Jota to Greenwood, probably do that. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to have a think. But Keenan Davis is this the week he comes off the bench to get me a 13-pointer? I'm not sure. Home to West Brom.
Let's be realistic. A lucky assist. He doesn't score, so I think he's got like 2 goals for Villa or something. If he gets a lucky assist done, gets you 4 points, you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you?
Do you know what? It would make my season. I think I'd retire. I think I'd quit.
A flick on from a corner or something like that, going, and Watkins heads home or whatever it is. You'd take that.
We will. Okay, so let's move on then to and ask the question: who is the best captain for blank game week 33? So we asked the question earlier on Fantasy Football Hub, poll at FFH_HQ. Mo Salah, home to Newcastle, came back with 56.5% of the vote. In second place was Iheanacho, home to Palace, 22.9%. Third place was Bruno Fernandes, away to Leeds, 14.5%. And Vardy with just 6.1%. This was obviously before they played this evening. It probably is worth mentioning that. So Salah, the outstanding kind of favourite there, rested on Monday night. So you think that he's guaranteed to start as well. Adam, who is the best captain for game week 33?
I think for me it's between 2 people. I think Salah and Iheanacho. I think Nacho looked from all accounts looked really good again today. Could have had a hat trick. Even saw him taking a free kick at the end. He's desperate. I think somebody put it in the chat. He's quite greedy, which is great for FPL. It is great for FPL. Yeah. I've started to really warm to him. He seems to be a proper goal scorer as well. So I think playing in the 2 really helps him. So I think it's a case I can possibly see. I think I'm going to go with Salah, but the fact that Palace have been equally as woeful, haven't really got anything to play for, and also as well, it's the last game of the game week, isn't it? So you've got that factor that it shouldn't impact things. But imagine if you're going in with a small green arrow, captain playing last exactly. So I think these 1 week decisions are a little bit of a toss up. So I think you look at tonight, Iheanacho's got 6 points, hasn't he? But he could have ended up with 15 points. Yeah. It's just so I would look at those 2. I think others. I think that when you're looking at the fixtures, Chelsea, West Ham, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. I don't think there'll be loads of goals in it anyway. Trent possibly.
He was on my shortlist.
Yeah, I think it just depends. I have got a feeling Newcastle will score it, maybe 3-1 to Liverpool. Yeah. So I'm not sure I could do that because you're constantly relying on the attack in return. But if you're brave, I don't see any harm in that. I think he's outscored Salah in the last 3 or 4, hasn't he? Pretty sure he has. Yeah. So, I think I'm going with Mo though. What I like about Mo at the moment is, and it obviously wasn't against Leeds, but I think when I've been captaining him, even if it's 7 or 8 points, he's just been grinding out points, and I quite like that.
Yeah.
And he seems to be. I think because of Liverpool have improved, Mo looks better as well. So I think that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. It's really hard to look past him. So I agree with everything you've said, and Guy just said in the chat, and I agree. He's gonna be raring to go after his benching as well. And I think, and I personally always prefer to captain a midfielder over a striker in a 50-50, just for the extra points. Where Salah is on penalties, where Iheanacho isn't on penalties. So just these little 50-50, where it's really split. I tend to like to go for the player with a slight more upside. Salah's got penalties, gets extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet, all this sort of stuff.
If you believe the due theory, like that a player's due, Bruno is the one to go for. I just think personally, I know what everyone's been. I know you're going to say about Leeds' defence as well, because they have looked better.
I think they've improved. Yeah, I think they've improved.
But I think United away from home are generally, they're unbeaten this season, aren't they? Away from home.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I expect Bruno in the next. I don't think it'll be against Liverpool, but I think in the next 2 or 3 game weeks, I think we'll see a 12 or 15 pointer from him.
Yeah.
It might involve a controversial penalty,
as usual.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't get excited for Bruno at the moment. Although I would say agree with your points. The other one who's tempting me is Trent, but I do agree with you and a couple of guys in the chat. Actually, Newcastle have improved. I do think Liverpool will win, but I think it'll be I think that both teams will score, and Newcastle have been going for it. They've turned the corner. I completely agree. I think it'd be like a 2-1, like or a 3-1 maybe, and that's it with Trent. Even though he's got a good chance of attacking return, you can't bank off an attacker return for a for a defender.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. He's got for Trent. I think Guy mentioned it in the chat earlier. Guy Parfitt, that he's got top bonus points for the last 4 game weeks in a row, isn't it? But I think there's been a couple of things that gone his way. So if you think about it, the strike against Villa in the last minute, it went from like a 2-pointer to an 11-pointer.
Yes, definitely.
And I think I don't know. I think it would be a brave decision to do it. It could. This is the problem with a 1 week. Captaincy gambling on 1 week, aren't you? So it's just a lot of it is variance. There's probably 4 or 5 really good picks this week, and it will come down to, there will be an element of luck there as well.
I think we're fairly agreed at the moment that probably Salah just edges out Iheanacho. Guy Parfitt makes a good point on Trent as well. Actually, he says that Saint-Maximin and Wilson are back in the team for Newcastle, so will likely score, and it's hard to argue with that, really. So yeah, Salah just ahead of Iheanacho. We'll see what tomorrow brings. With the deadline, actually, the deadline's in about 18 hours time or something. We haven't got long to make our decisions with the presses. Okay, the predicted best blank game with 33 captain comes out as Mohamed Salah is top. Mane comes out second on our Fantasy Football Hub points prediction tool. Third is actually Trent. So Trent comes out third. Vardy comes out fourth. And it's actually Andy Robertson who comes out fifth. So Iheanacho is not in the top 5, interestingly enough. The algorithm, may be taking into account, some kind of historical stuff there potentially. But Salah is the pick by a distance as well. They predict him to score 6.9 points. And Gavino says Trent has the same amount of bonus points his last 4 as Bruno has actual points, which is an interesting stat. Competition time for our YouTube watchers. So every week, all our YouTube watchers have a chance to win a fantastic Fantasy Football Hub mug, which I'm just going to quickly show off here. They are fantastic quality. We're selling these too, along with other Hub merchandise in association with that FPL merch. There's a link in the description below. We're currently running 20% off discount using coupon code FFHub20. Well, Hub members get 25% off. As I say, the link is in the description below if you are interested in that. So it looks like for Game Week 32, Sigurdsson and Greenwood both scored 15 points each. Obviously, because we've just come now off the back of the Game Week, I haven't had a chance to go and have a look at last week's one and see. So we will confirm the winner next week if anyone picked out Sigurdsson or Greenwood. I don't think anyone in the Leicester game earlier scored a 15-pointer or higher, did they? So Sigurdsson and Greenwood, 15 each for double game of 32. Surprisingly, no Spurs player, even though they had a double, even though I'm pretty sure that Kane would have probably got it had he played the second game. Quazim, still waiting for my mug. Send me a DM, Quazim. They've all gone out now, so hopefully you should get them. So for the competition and a chance to win one of these mugs, please like the stream. subscribe, and then comment on who you think will be the top FPL point scorer in blank game week 33. It is limited to one entry each. If there is a tie, we'll do a random draw for the winner. Daniel in the chat says, Adam, why are you laughing? Is it because you're feeling the Davis -4?
-4. No, I was just reading some of the comments in the chat. That was all it. That's what it. If you ever see me just randomly laughing, that's what. I think when somebody mentioned about getting, Daniel Robert, Guy Parfitt, you may as well be on the show. I think we might have mentioned him a few too many times. Not that it's a bad thing. Guy has loads of great points.
Does indeed. Oh, and the guys have just said Guy again and El Padrino.
Oh, here we go.
Evans got 15 points as well. Apologies. So Johnny Evans got 15 points as well as Greenwood and Sigurdsson. Adam, who is your pick for the top scorer for blank game week 33?
I am going to go with. Do you know what? I will go with Bruno.
Bruno, wow, okay.
I just think he's going to I think he's due a haul, in my opinion. I think he's going to dodgy penalty, of course.
I'm going to go a bit left field, and I'm going to go for Sadio Mane. I think it's
a good shout, Mane. Yeah.
It may be his time on the weekend to get to spike a little 18-pointer or something along those lines. So make sure you put it in the chat. Please make sure you like the stream if you haven't already. We haven't got the opportunity this week either to look at our mini league, as it won't have updated by the time we've done the stream. So we will do that going forward. Some final questions. John Chappell, does Adam think Son is essential now? I'm not sure he thinks he's essential, but
no, I don't think he's essential at all. I don't think it's essential at all. And I was at the early part of the week considering getting rid of him for Greenwood, but I think with the managerial change, it's worth. I think Spurs will be a little bit more on the front foot. So I don't think it's essential. I don't think there are too many players in the game that are essential at the moment.
Cool. Top scorer Martin. We have to have a shout for Martinelli off Kazim. That looks like an interesting shout.
Do you know, it's a good shout with both Aubameyang and Lacazette. Exactly. I really like that shout. Yeah,
I think that'd be also. And Firmino, Pogba, Lewis Dunk, great stuff. This is why I love this part of it. You get these real left field picks out there, don't you? A lovely comment from Paul Sweeney. Thank you, Paul. A great show, guys. I always tune in for high quality FPL. Thank you so much for that. That is very kind indeed. Final question. A couple of people have been asking around Alonso and what to do with Alonso. Adam, what are your thoughts on him?
I think he's the sort of player that I think this week you probably just start him and hope for the best. That's what I would do personally, because I don't think he'll play against Real Madrid, so therefore I think his chances of starting are slightly higher. Did he come off early the other night as well?
I don't think so. No, I know that.
I thought he did for some reason, but maybe. But no, could be wrong on that.
I know that
I'd start Alonso personally, or if you're just not going to start him, sell him because he's too expensive to.
I think they've got Fulham next week, so I would just be tempted to hold for that. But after that, City, Arsenal, Leicester, gone for me after that.
Agreed.
Just been asked on the prediction for the Carabao Cup final. That's a good shout, Adam. How do you think that's going to play out? Man City.
I think City will win.
Any scoreline?
I think it'll be a comfortable City win. So maybe 3-1.
Yeah, I think
I'll give Spurs a goal.
That's nice of you. I'm going to go for 2-0. I think they'll go 1-0 up. Spurs will huff and puff, and then City will score on the break at the end. We will see. So that is a wrap from us for this week. Many thanks as usual to all our loyal watchers and listeners for their great questions and comments. Really do appreciate. We really appreciate everyone joining us in the chat. We're going to put out a couple of polls over the next few weeks, try and find a time which really suits all our live watchers. We want to make sure that we make this as available as possible, and we know that this time isn't great, maybe, for people living in Asia, and areas of the world like that. So if if anyone has any thoughts on that whatsoever about an ideal time every week, which would suit, our current thoughts are Wednesday 8 p.m. British time, which tends to work okay, but again, it doesn't suit everyone. Especially when there's matches on, that's the thing in it. But please let us know. Daniel Roberts.
We should probably thank our guest, shouldn't we? Thanks, Guy, for
that's
your
what Daniel's just put.
I know, I just saw it.
Thanks for Adam and Guy Parfitt for the great show today. Superb. Adam, the best of luck to you for Game Week 33. Where can people get hold of you?
On Twitter, Hopcroft13.
Fantastic. And my Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergie. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please click the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Adam, go on, sorry.
I just love it. Everyone in the chat this time works perfect for me. That's really
Oh, is it? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so there you go. We'll just go with that. Stick with the loyal viewers.
Where was I? If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, it would be great if you could go and leave a 5-star review and some comments. It would be absolutely superb. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are at FFH_HQ. And our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Green Arrow. So make sure you drop us a follow. And again, leave some comments. It'd be great to interact with all you guys. Myself and Adam are gonna attempt to be a bit more active on the Green Arrow handle. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the new and updated and fantastic customizable fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, points prediction tool, and much, much more. To join the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers and sign up to the hub to use all our amazing resources, just click the top link description below for a free 7-day trial. You will not regret it. I promise you that. We'll be back next week, looking ahead to Game Week 34. Stay safe, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.